that I just remembered.
Yes.
About how they operated, and which is part of what we have lost. If you were a dealer of Peugeot products or Volkswagen products, you had to have a workshop.
Yes.
And then you had to provide sales and after service. And these dealers, were recognized. It is not now that you have everybody, every mechanic, every small space there, they are selling Tokumbo cars and so on and so forth. So it was organized. Your dealership, you had a franchise for your dealership and so on and so forth. That was how, let me also mention this out of sentiment. We are doing newspaper review. Alex Ibru, that's of Rutan Motors, he had a franchise for Peugeot products. And in fact, Rutam House, where the Guardian newspaper is established, was previously one of the offices, sales outlets, and the maintenance workshop for Peugeot products.
And later on became the printing outfit for the
absolutely, and Alex Ibro was in love with the Peugeot.
Can I draw attention to this human interest story? In Rivers State, the police command are looking for a woman who disguised as a lesson teacher and abducted 5 children. Of the 5 children, 3 of them are of one mother and 2 others are from another family. And how did she go about this? She came to the area, begged for a space to start conducting lessons for children. He even paid the husband of the woman whose 2 children she took to help her build a structure where she would be conducting the lessons. Under the guise that he was going to teach the children, he just took the children away and went away to what they call a palm oil market. Before you knew it, she has disappeared with 5 of the children.
Yeah, that's a worrisome development. But we do hope that the authorities are hot on the heels of that female kidnapper. And whenever she is apprehended, she has to face the full wrath of the law. But another story, if you recall...
Can I comment?
Yes, please do that.
About the trust issue we have in Nigeria. Somebody just coming out of the blue, come to a place, get a place, and then we automatically trust the person, and including our children too. Yes. Are we being security conscious here?
Certainly not.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
Certainly not.
And you see, people are taking for granted the natural good-naturedness of Nigerians. When you come, oh, you are welcome. The hospitality is what has been taken for granted. But we need to be circumspect now about trusting just anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bayo, if you recall, earlier in the week, I made reference to an advertisement in one of the papers regarding the claim that there was an imminent scarcity of sugar because of some issues with one of the major producers having not met their allocation quota or some other point. The government agency has clarified that is not the case. In fact, they addressed a press conference yesterday debunking the claims in that advertisement, and that everyone, is mandated to proceed, with their production. There's no production scarcity and there's no cutback in the sales of sugar. Because if you recall, last year, the reason why we raised it was that last year, there were claims that artificial scarcity of sugar was created around the Ramadan period. And the purpose, according to that claim, was, of course, to fleece buyers of sugar. Baya Toyobi, on that note, we'd like to thank you for being around. See you again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on NTA's network service. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll be dealing with climate and weather, particularly for this year.
There's a drop of goodness in everyone. Share goodness with someone today. Malta Guinness. Enjoy a world of good. The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Shola, come and help me. You need to learn.
But I'm more interested in drawing.
How are you going to be part of the business if you don't learn?
You just don't understand.
Morning. Anyone for some Lipton?
The rich taste of Lipton awakens body and mind.
Let me have a look at your drawings. Son, these designs are amazing.
Lipton Yellow Label Tea. Awaken to what really matters.
See, nurse, she's saying she feels unwell, despite my efforts to practice good hygiene.
Mom says wash your hands to keep the germs away.
Washing hands is good, but surfaces can also have germs, and you shouldn't use just anything for cleaning them. Use Jik. Jik's formula has been scientifically proven to stay active for longer, giving you whitening and germ kill protection on a variety of surfaces. Disinfect to protect, just Jik it. Endorsed by National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
Following the approval of the National Policy on 5G Networks for Nigeria's Digital Economy by the Federal Executive Council and its subsequent launch by President Muhammadu Buhari GCFR, stakeholders are invited to a public workshop on National Policy on 5G Networks and handover of the spectrum for 5G deployment to the Nigerian Communications Commission by the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Chairman National Frequency Management Council, Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, FNCS, FBCS, FIIM. Venue, Congress Hall, Transco Hilton Hotel, Abuja. Time 10 a.m. prompt. Date Thursday, 17th February 2022. Announcer Professor Umar Garba Ambata, Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Communications Commission.
NCC.
Connecting Nigeria.
Well, the housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing type based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 34 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Coming off a tough road victory, the Reds will face another relegation-threatened team, this time at Anfield. This Saturday, it's Liverpool versus Norwich City on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
This is Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA, and as a prompt for our conversation on the 2022 seasonal climate prediction, here is correspondent Musa Ali with a background report.
The 2022 seasonal rain prediction released by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency indicates that earliest onset of the planting season will occur in February in the coastal states, and it's expected to last between 250 to 300 days. In the north-central states, it was predicted that the onset of rainfall will occur between April and May, and eventually between June to July in the northern states. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika released the compilation of the seasonal prediction on behalf of NIMED.
the areas around Kwara, Oyo, Lagos, Nasarawa, Benue, Bayelsa, and Rivers, which are likely to experience shorter than normal length of growing season. However, prolonged length of growing season is anticipated in parts of Plateau, Kaduna, Edo, and of course, Imo.
Moderate dry spell for up to 15 days is predicted over parts of Adamawa, Ekiti, Kwara, Niger, FCT, Kaduna, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Gombe states.
The vagaries of weather and climate is not limited only to agriculture. Other socio-economic sectors have weather and climate as a very critical component. And that is why this document, SCP.
Predictions will not only help the aviation industry, the agri, even the insurance companies. In some parts of the world, you subscribe to the kind of information that is being given free by NIMET. And I hope that we all take seriously the seasonal prediction.
The country is projected to experience warmer days over the north and cooler nights around the south month of March. The month of April is forecast to experience warmer daytime temperatures and cooler than long-term average nighttime temperatures.
Thank you very much, Musa Aliyu, for that backgrounder. We have guests with us in the studios to discuss further aspects relating to the seasonal prediction for 2022. Let's welcome James Adamo Ijampi, who is Chief Meteorologist at NIMET, that is to say the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. Ijampi, pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you so much, sir.
Also here with us in the studios is Engineer Clement Nze. He's Director General of NISA, that's the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, and a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Engineer, it's a pleasure to have you this morning.
It's my pleasure. Right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And also joining us in the studio is Kabir Ibrahim, President, All Farmers Association of Nigeria, AFAN. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
He's a regular on the program. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so let's begin with Ijampi. Let's give us more insight into the climate prediction for the year 2022. We have the highlights already, but in general, what does this mean? Is it early onset or late onset, early cessation or late cessation of rainfall?
Thank you so much. As presented by the Honorable Minister, Senator Hadi Sirika, the prediction this year was based on a El Nino normal phase. That means we will be experiencing a normal to early onset of rainfalls, normal to late cessation, but depending on as specified by the Honorable Minister in his remark, some states will experience some early cessation, or have areas. Mostly the country will experience normal to late cessation, but with few areas like Plateau that will be experiencing some late cessation. Also, the rainfall amount varies from normal to above normal rainfall, and as highlighted by the minister in his remark, they will be experiencing some dry spell, moderate dry spell, that will last 7 to 15 days in parts of the central states, as he said, and we'll have in the extreme northern states, we may likely experience some severe dry spell that may last up to 21 days after the onset. And it is important to note that there will be some pre-onset activities which is not the onset itself. That means we may experience some rainfall here and there before the actual onset as specified. These are the pre-onset activities, and in the document it has been warned that people should not rush to the farm, mostly our farmers, to go to start planting because it may lead to some economic loss. However, the onset dates are specified clearly there. It will be normal to above to early onset, normal to late cessation, normal to above normal rainfall, and the length of season will be normal to longer than normal length of season across the country.
I'm going to stay with you briefly, and usually your prediction is points on, year in, year out, and this year around, there's some scary prediction, outbreak of meningitis in some states across the country.
Yes, the prediction this year looked at the environmental condition that will be suitable for the outbreak of meningitis and malaria. Now, the condition for malaria, it has been predicted between January to May. You can see where you have high vigilance, low vigilance, and so on. And that means the environment, the rainfall, temperature, and relative humidity will be ideal for the for breeding of Anopheles mosquito, that the parasite, the vector that carries the parasite. And also for meningitis, that the atmospheric condition is suitable for the outbreak. So that's why if you look at the document, we talk about vigilance. So that means these areas in the month of January, you'll be experienced, there should be high vigilance. That means responsible agencies of government and health practitioners should make sure they mobilize their resources to those areas so that to avoid or to avert the outbreak of these diseases. Ours is to predict the environment suitable for based on science, suitable for the outbreak of these health conditions.
Well, I would like you to speak further on the health implications of the climate prediction. But you're talking now about malaria, which is to say the breeding of the female Anopheles mosquito, and meningitis. Which states are more prone to these events, and which of the months of the year will this be more rampant?
Okay, thank you. If you look at the document critically, you see in the month of January, February, and March, the coastal states where you expect the onset of the rainfall, because there's a threshold, you have some amount of rainfall and relative humidity. January, February, we expect some high vigilance within the coastal part and the southern part of the country. As we move into the months of May, April, May, we're looking at the central and the northern state for malaria. And conversely, for meningitis, January, February, the conditions the vigilance will be high in the northern part of the country, particularly the frontal states of Borno, Kebbi, Adamawa, Yobe, Jigawa, and so forth. So, and when you come to March, it will come down to around areas in the central states, and that's when the conditions will be ideal for meningitis.
Okay, let's talk about the new document, Executive Summary for Policymakers, and what is it all about, and how will it assist all the relevant agencies to make informed decisions here?
Yes. Now, this innovation came about because you have the policymakers that don't have to look at very bulky document. And the concept, the DG NIMED, Professor Mansour Bakumatazu, came up with this idea that this should be a policy, simple pamphlet that policymakers can just make reference and take immediate decisions based on the seasonal rain. It's just like a complete summary of the seasonal rainfall prediction, and it is handy. So you find out policymakers, ministers, even the governors can have this, just a little pamphlet, and look at and take immediate decision. This is a new concept introduced by my DG, so as to ease in communication, because when you have a very bulky document, and for policymaker, all he needs to know is that where are the areas of interest, what are we supposed to do, and how do we mobilize resources.
I'm wondering, before we bring in the other guests, what was the level of interest at the launch of this year's climate prediction? In other words, who, say, from the state's governments were present or joined you via Zoom or some other links that you may have provided?
Thank you so much. The participation this year was quite encouraging. We invited all state governors, commissioners of agriculture, environment, health from the states, and all the federal ministers. And we had from the state government, we have physical representation by directors and PAMSECs of agriculture. We had representation by executive secretaries of emergency management agencies, that's the SEMAS. The All Farmers Association they were represented by the president himself, Architect Kabiru Ibrahim. He was there himself, and other non-governmental agencies, including like HEDA. We had virtual participation by our international or development partners, like FAO, WFP, and the rest, and including farmers. Rural farmers were there, some of them that have benefited because we had partnered with IFAD project, like the CAPS project that just ended, the IFAD Life ND in the Niger Delta, the IFAD VCDP, they had good participation, and we had even from the WMO Secretary General was there virtually. So the participation was good, and it's quite encouraging that Nigerians are beginning to appreciate the relevance of weather and climate prediction in their day-to-day activities.
All right. Thank you very much, Ijampi, James Adamu Ijampi, for the responses that you have given. Well, we'll return to you in the course of the conversation. And incidentally, Architect Kabiru, who was present at the launch of the season's climate prediction, is right here with us in the studios, President of Farmers Association. But let's bring in first Engineer Clemens. Engineer Clemens, well, you would say that this is not the flood outlook just yet, but what does the seasonal climate prediction foretell?
Thank you, Kingsley. NIMET and NISA are very close sister agencies in terms of the operations. After people have already do ask, what's the distinction between the two agencies? Loosely speaking, people, you have to make them to understand that why NIMET mostly is concerned with atmospheric issues and also partly issues that happen on the ground, like they talk about soil moisture content and so on. The Hydrological Agency, we are concerned with the surface and groundwater all over the country. Now, I was there with other staff of my agency during the presentation about 2 days ago. We have some takeaways from their prediction, what they presented to us. Precipitation, humidity, temperature, which they predict, are very strong components or parameters that help us to come up with the flood outlook. For instance, when you talk about having a shorter period of rainfall in a year like the DG NIMET mentioned, it starts to give us impression. It gives us, makes us to understand that you are likely to have heavy amount of rainfall within a shorter period of time. And the earth that, so to say, takes up this rain, precipitation, when in the case of the ground, could be choked like a child you are trying to give a cam to drink or water to drink. There's a way you try to force it. I think we had an ugly experience sometime in the US where a woman was using the method she knows to feed a child. The child got suffocated and died. So when there's a shorter period of rainfall, the amount might be so high that it will generate a heavy runoff. The rivers will be overwhelmed. The normal dry channels that convey runoff may be overwhelmed. Then the banks, the two sides of the rivers or the channels will be overwhelmed too. So we have that's one of our takeaways. And then the onset, like he mentioned, maybe normal to above normal, like he may explain better. They know that one better than we do, maybe. When you talk about normal, above normal, you're talking about an average of about maybe 30 years type of rainfall you have been having. That what you're going to have this year may not deviate much from what you have had in the past 30 to 40 years or even 20. So we have a lot to go from what they have spoken, what they have released, and we expect that maybe in maybe 2 months' time, maximum, we go on air to let Nigerians know the implications of their prediction in conjunction with other parameters we use in doing our prediction.
The seasonal climate prediction is supposed to be a guide advisory for relevant agencies like yours. And from the prediction in 2022, it seems you have to hit the ground running. So what is the level of preparedness in your agency?
But it has got it to advanced stage.
So you're already running?
Yes, we have begun working before the end of last year. What we are waiting for is the official statement from NIMET, which they released on the 15th. So now we'll go to work further to interrogate what I have said, vis-a-vis other conditions, talk about the geology of an environment, the river system, several things we have been measuring over the years. Like as we speak, our staff are there on the field gathering some data about each of the rivers, most of the rivers in Nigeria, especially the transboundary rivers, Niger and Benue. So it has gone to an advanced stage.
What I'm trying to say is, you said in the next 2 months you come and make the
Yes.
public aware.
Yes.
It's February already, and
Yes.
some places have already started having rainfall, even if it's not heavy.
Okay.
So why should it take you so long to make people aware of the dangers of the prediction itself?
There are some technicalities I may not explain to the layman. We talk about hydrological year. In Nigeria, the hydrological year ends or starts from June. We are still in the 2021 hydrological year. That's what we are. Okay. We are still operating now, 2020/2021 hydrological year. By the end of May, we'll be talking about 2021/2022 hydrological year in Nigeria. So there are implications this will have in our prediction that we can't rush just to go on air to maybe give you in March. But like he rightly mentioned, the advice they have released, there could be some rain drops anytime from now in several parts of Nigeria, but that doesn't indicate the onset of rainy season in any of the parts of Nigeria until the date they have mentioned, plus or minus maybe 5 days.
All right, Engineers, thank you very much. Of course, we also look forward to the flood outlook, which is what your report is about, once the heavens begin to open up. Architect Kabir Ibrahim, let's bring you into the conversation right now. What are your takeaways from this year's predictions?
Well, the thing to do now is to appreciate that I was there physically. And last year, we had so many problems all over the place. Even though NIMET has tried to disseminate this information, the Hydrological Services also gave warnings and all that. We are present in 774 local governments and we sensitized our people. But to our chagrin, with the losses, especially in Katsina where I come from the Ministry of Agriculture, and that is the gazetted record, the losses by the farmers is in excess of 9 billion. Because some of them did not heed to the warning. And they planted in flood-prone areas. They planted late. They did not follow the rainfall pattern that was explained. So this year, what we did was to go there, look at everything in all its ramifications. And as I was invited, I now sent this to all our platforms, telling the farmers to watch on NTA and listen, see what the NIMET is saying. We are lucky the Hydrological Agency is also here. And probably there will be some questions, I don't know, but this is sine qua non to seed and to production. Because if you plant where there is no water, the seeds will not germinate. So the farmers ought to take this as the holy Bible of agriculture. So our takeaway is immense. It's prudent for us to abide by what NIMET says, for us to get out of poverty and then give Nigeria food sufficiency before we even start talking of food security. So it is very, very vital that we participate and we embrace everything that they have said. I was pleasantly surprised that no governor was there. One governor at least by himself should be there. It would motivate many people to be there. The Minister of Agriculture, if I was the Minister of Agriculture, I would have been there. But I saw a very respected representative, because this is very, very important to the work we are doing. Because for me, the synergy between NIMET and then aviation as a whole, transportation, road transportation, the Ministry of Water Resources, CBN, NALDA, everybody should coalesce to bring about food sufficiency in Nigeria. And therefore, every one of them should be in the same hall, in the same box with the farmers to be able to do that. I'm restricting these predictions to agriculture, but there are many cross-cutting issues that will affect agriculture and our welfare, you know, because even air transportation is going to be affected. Some of the things that perish are taken by air, especially now that we have AFTA. We should be able to produce something that will go out by air to other neighboring countries. Even florists go to as far as Dubai from Nairobi, Kenya, by air. So if there are predictions as to weather and all that, they will not now bring their flowers and they will dry up before they fly because of inclement weather. So it's a gamut of many things, and we need to work very hard to appreciate exactly the effect of all these things on us. But our well-being depends on weather forecasts. In other climes, everybody, you have it at the palm of your hand. Before you even travel by road or go anywhere, you have to know what the weather portends. Now, because our weather is not very harsh, we take it for granted.
Yes, because our weather is predictable. We know when the seasons come in. You said something that sort of struck a chord. You said they do not heed to, warnings. Would we attribute it to low education or low awareness? Since you said the relevant agencies from the states were not at the event itself. So how are they supposed to educate and make their farmers aware that they need to take advice from NIMET?
No, let me fixate this. I didn't say the relevant agencies. I said the motivation by the presence of a governor and a highly placed person will make people pay attention to it. But clearly, there were many directors. All the people who were really doing the nitty-gritty were there. Okay. But what is missing, and everybody is to blame, the NIMET comes out with this, and they have made tremendous effort in information dissemination. For me and for AFAN, I think we should, from this year, create a desk for dissemination, this kind of information, more to our farmers, in conjunction or in addition to what is being done by NIMET and other people. So because it's a very serious business. You see, why I mentioned Katsina State is this. We have this threat of insecurity that prevents some people from some parts from going to the farm. Then you have the devastation caused by lack of adherence to the advice of NIMET. So the total food basket will suffer, because in some places we can't go to the farms even if we have abided by all the advice and all that, and we have worked assiduously. In some other parts, because of the nature of things, this is an act of God, we are not able to produce optimally. Then the sum total of our welfare is affected. And this model is true for every state in Nigeria. So these are the facts that I want to bring out. I'm not saying that people did not come. They were there. I mean, if a permanent secretary or an SA goes from a state government, he will definitely take back this information and this will. But the presence of a governor will motivate many people to pay attention to what we are doing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're talking about the optics. To say, look, what kind of signaling would that mean for the seriousness that is attached, therefore, to the seasonal climate predictions? Particularly for agriculture, this is important because largely it's still rain-fed agricultural practices that we have. Now, on Good Morning Nigeria over the years, we have always taken on this subject matter along, of course, with the flood outlook, or when the flood begins to cause some havoc in different parts of some parts of the country. In terms of cascading the critical information embedded in the predictions, where do you think the challenge lies? Because some years ago, we were told that, the NIMET made his predictions and transmitted copies to state governments and other agencies, and of course the outcome was that they got those documents and just kept them under the drawer. And when the consequences started unfolding, everyone was running helter-skelter. So what do you think we can do through organized entities to cascade the information relevant to their activities?
There are many reasons why we must take this thing seriously and implement it, embrace what is happening, because the whole problem of food is existential. Every day I go to programs and people talk of scarcity of food or skyrocketing prices of food. This is for agriculture. If there is anything to mitigate that anyone is proposing, it is best embraced wholly by all stakeholders. Now, to that extent, I believe seeing is believing. I have suffered this loss because I didn't heed. It is coming now. I have no other choice than to do it because the matter is existential. So to me, I think what we are doing even now, and the desk I said we would create, and the advice that the Hydrological Agency will give on flooding and all that, will be listened to with rapt attention, and it will be implemented. And we are forced by necessity to really do this. And we should even seek out this. You know, the Minister of Information said something and people didn't even listen. You know, in other climes, you pay for this information. It is given free of charge. NAMED is not, I don't know how they get their money. Maybe I will just go around and make some from them. I know that we should pay for this. I mean, we want to look at agriculture as a business. And if the components of making my business thrive include listening to advice of NIMED, and I should pay for it and factor it in my production. This is what should do. I mean, a sane society and serious people should do that. So I believe that our farmers will do this because, you know, we have a large contingent of people who farm for subsistence. If you don't have enough food, you go to the market and the food there is very expensive and you have no money. What is your choice? Your choice is to do it well and to listen to the advice that people give. So this will be cascaded to the grassroots from here to every state, to every local government, and to every ward, and to even every household.
I don't know. It raises the issue of extension services. Some noise was made a couple of years ago. Oh, yeah, we're going to employ extension workers to interact with farmers and talk to them about seeds and seedlings and cultivation and some of these things, including dealing with pests and diseases. Are we getting it right now with extension services?
You see, it's pedestrian to think that with this day of information super highway, you need to get people to go to these nooks and crannies to do this. You are to deploy digital technology, digital extension, green digital extension. And there are many, many for even yesterday I attended a seed information systems meeting. So you can get it on your telephone. Even this what NIMED did, I think there was a demonstration that there is an app now. There you can just get this information on your telephone. So I mean the world has gone
for the subsistence farmer.
You see what it is this. If you have a local government system, for instance, that works, there is an agri desk in the local government. That should be responsible.
That's right.
They should be functional, yes. Everybody, look, you see what we fail to understand is that I was invited here for Good Morning Nigeria. You were here. So if you came late, if you or Juma came late, would the program be effective? You need to be here. So in NTA, people keep to time and you do what you have to do. So everywhere else, we should do the same. This is the way to go. I mean, you cannot develop your nation by being lackadaisical about things. You must be hands-on in everything. It is no excuse that I am from Faskari and I don't speak English. I will not understand what everybody is saying. So if I hear what you are saying, I will go to my people and tell them in the language they will understand. This is why I told you we have platforms for agriculture in every part of Nigeria. If I go to your village and I speak English, probably very few people will understand me. But if the person I'm giving information to disseminate to your people speaks in the language that most people understand, I think it will be there. So I'm not going to hide behind people don't have phones, people don't speak English or German to say that, no, this information will not go. The information will go.
Okay, let's bring in Mr. James Adamu. Tell us about the app and what does it intend to achieve?
Thank you. The idea of the app came up last year as a result of our downscaling experience. We've been going down to the grassroots to get them trained on how to use the seasonal climate prediction. And it is quite, I'm quite glad that most of the farmers, our perception of our rural farmers, they are quite intelligent, because when we did some demonstration with them, we understood that one or two, they have lead farmers, and within a community, you may have one or two people that have Android phones. So that was why the DG, Professor Mansour Matazu, now asked NIMED that we should develop an app that this, as architect Kabira said, the information highway is there. This information should get to them on real time, not just the seasonal climate prediction, but we have the daily forecast, the weekly outlooks for their decision. And also, we are still looking at a possibility, as the President of Farmers Association has said, some farmers don't have Android. How do we get a simple SMS code that they will get this information? We are looking at, my DG is looking at ways that we can explore, because this thing costs a lot, and NIMET is doing this out of its revenue, little revenue it generates from aviation. So we're looking at other ways that we partners with bigger companies, so that we can get this as their corporate responsibility, so that our rural farmers can get these things even on SMS. But the idea of the Android came as a result of our interaction via downscaling to farmers and the need for this information to get to them on time.
Jumpy, some days ago, the world celebrated World Radio Day. And radio remains worldwide the most utilized medium for mass communication. And what you are getting into, I'm just wondering, when we say we want to cascade down, so that you don't begin to bite more than you can chew as NIMET. And that's why we've been asking about the presence or collaboration of other stakeholders, including state governments. And Architect Ibrahim was prescribing what local governments should be and how they should work. Unfortunately, that is not the reality that we face. So if you are now having to go to the grassroots yourself to disseminate the information, I'm sure that going forward, state and local governments will just abandon you to say, oh, NIMET, they have come. They will, after prediction, they will go and disseminate the information. How do you get state governments and local governments and even the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Environment and others to be involved in all of this, so that you can have a collaboration that helps disseminate the information for utility in the areas of need?
Okay, for the Ministry of Agriculture, we are working with the Department of Land Resources and Climate Change, and through their projects, like the Appeals Project, even the IFAD is FGN domicile under the Ministry of Agriculture. So they give us this vehicle and lead into the states. And some state governments, like Katsina State some years back, we were able to reach out to them through the state government, where we went there to the state to downscale. We've received letters from communication from Lagos and Oyo State just yesterday, inviting NIMET to work with their ADPs, just so that we can reach out. And I'm glad that the All Farmers Association is here. They are here and talking about having a DEX officer. So when we have them give this information, I'm sure they will get this information to the 774 local governments in Nigeria. So NIMET is open to partnership because we don't have the resources to go to this local government, but we rely on partnership to get to, we were using the NRLS helpline because they are supposed to have a radio time slot. And also the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, had given us a platform to collaborate with the News Agency of Nigeria and Radio Nigeria so that this information can get to the SCP can get a wider coverage. And NIMET is appreciative of this.
Okay, we'll get back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in Mr. Clement Nze. It's a known fact that water will always find its course. Yes. And year in, year out, you go out there to enlighten people, building houses on the riverbanks to prevent flooding. How can you, would you say that in conjunction or in collaboration with other relevant agencies, you might this year be able to take some decisive and proactive actions against this?
Well, this year, 2022, we are coming up with some innovations that we give more flesh to what we are doing. That apart from this annual flood outlook, which gives you what is likely to happen in the course of the year. And when we say outlook, it's a working document that you can use to take some decisions. After the annual flood outlook for 2022, we want to now zero in to other things to do, like we'll break it down. That maybe for the month of April and June, we can tell you these are the things that will happen within this period, as against giving you a one-off prediction for the year. The heat of flooding in Nigeria is usually from July to September, maybe middle of October. So we are going to now segregate it in this pattern, that after giving the annual flood outlook, we begin to segment it. Also based on the reality of the weather. But certain things cannot be predicted. Like NIMET, we'll give you maybe 10 days. Maybe temperature or humidity. Because if you can't predict for a long time, there could be certain things that will change it without that's outside their own control. We have factored this in that for the year 2022, after the annual flood outlook is given, we will now segment it into 3 up to the month of October, which is the climate of flooding in Nigeria. Now, we have people that we partner with. NIMET is one of them, NEMA, and then the state SEMAs. We go to them through NEMA. We intend to intensify more efforts in this regard. The Honorable Minister of Water Resources has always worked assiduously to ensure that the front-line states in Nigeria, there are states that are really prone to flooding, that efforts or this information is gotten to them, sent to them quite early enough. Like maybe in your earlier question you asked when I spoke first. You don't expect flooding in Nigeria anywhere, even up to the month of March, April. You're talking about our preparedness, when are we coming out? The soil is dry. Yes, even though somebody told me some time ago that in the Niger Delta, they have only wet season and rainy season. They don't have dry season. But we know that it will take quite some rainy, some days or months of rainfall before the ground could be saturated to generate a runoff that will cause flooding. So we will intensify our own efforts in terms of warning the people, especially the government, but like what I've been inferred in what I've been said here so far. We can't be everywhere. When we give information to the state governors, each of the state governments in Nigeria has relevant agencies that deal with what we are saying. It is expected that the such information should be given to them, Minister of Environment, Minister of National Town Planning Authorities in their states. You mentioned the issue of building within the waterways or very